Okay guys, as you know, we are big Blood Angels fans over here at Mediocre Hobbies. In specific, we are big fans of the Flesh Tearers, huge Flesh Tearers army, big fan of those, and that's what I've been turning all of the new Blood Angels kits into to add into my Flesh Tearers army. We did it with the Blood Angels army set. We got some Death Company, we got obviously a couple of new characters and everything there, and we did a video on absolutely every single one of them. Well, now another wave of Blood Angels has finally hit the shelves, and we are ready to add those into the force as well. So we of course have Sanguinar, new Sanguinary Priest, new Captain, and new Sanguinary Guard. So quite a lot of awesome new kits to get stuck into and add them into the collection. The first one I'm going to do a video on, mainly because he's just awesome and he's so crazy and he's so different from other Space Marines. It is going to be the Sanguinor. So I'm going to show you guys how to get this guy built up and painted up to a very easy, nice tabletop standard so you can start using this guy in games ASAP. Before I get into it though, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone out there that continues to support Mediocre Hobbies in all the myriad of different ways it is possible to support me, whether it's by watching the videos, making sure that you're liking, commenting, making sure you're subscribed, or whether you go a step further and you're a channel member or you're a member over on the Patreon. Those last two really are the bread and butter of this channel. They're how we are able to continue doing what we are doing. And as a thank you to those people, we give them an extra video every single week. So one of these Blood Angels videos, for instance, will just be for channel members and Patreon members. So if you want to keep up to date with all content, make sure you check out both of those things linked down below. Okay, without further ado, let's dive in and get this Sanguinor painted. Okay, obviously we've gotten our hands on a couple of extra of the new Blood Angels miniatures. So for instance, the Sanguinary Priest is a really nice sculpt. I'm very happy to have that in my collection. Obviously I've added a Flesh Tear shoulder pad to him. He will be of course adding to the Flesh Tears like all of these Blood Angel releases. We have a new Blood Angels Captain, which I thought was kind of a bit plain before I built him. Once I built him, I'm in love with him. I'm going to do him in the gold armor style just to be something a little bit different. I don't really have a use for another Space Marine Captain in my Flesh Tearers army. I've got about 15 of them so far, so I'm not quite sure what to do with him yet. And then of course we have the beautiful new Sanguinary Guard, which I've added the 3D printed wings to just so they fit in with any older versions of the Sanguinary Guard that I have. Dante and of course the Sanguinor himself, who is of course the main focus of today's video. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of a background and some more lore on the Sanguinor, and then we'll get into the painting side of things. So, the Sanguinor, also known as the Exemplar of the Host, is a mysterious entity of unknown origins that is associated with the Blood Angel Space Marine chapter. He has been named after Sanguinius, the Blood Angel's martyred Primarch. Not much is known of his origins, and what information does exist is really nothing more than speculation by the chapter's librarian and several Imperial scholars well versed in the lore of the Adeptus Astartes. The Sanguinor often appears during a Blood Angels period of greatest need, usually during a combat situation. To many among the Battle Brothers of the chapter, he is no more than myth. A few ever survive the battles where he has manifested, but the initiates of the Blood Angels Reclusium know differently, having kept detailed records of his manifestations down through the century. While the Sanguinor's deeds are unquestioned, there has always been much debate concerning his origins and identity. The members of the Blood Angels chapter council argued that the Sanguinor is the manifestation of Sanguinius' own better nature, his nobility that keeps his darkness in check, lost to the chapter with his death at the hands of Horus aboard the War Master's flagship, the Vengeful Spirit, during the climax of the Siege of Terra. The Sanguinary Guard do not believe that the Sanguinor is the chapter's Primarch, but that he is Ascalon, the original founder of the Sanguinary Guard, who has been preserved beyond time by the divine will of the Emperor. So great is the Sanguinor's legends that it has long ago passed beyond the Blood Angels chapter and has served to exacerbate the discomfort felt towards the Blood Angels by certain sections of the Imperium. The Inquisition savants have their own opinions about the matter, theorizing that the Sanguinor is some sort of psychic construct born of the warp, through the collective desires and needs of the Blood Angel Space Marines when groups of them are under extreme duress. Others hold that he is the empiric manifestation of some darker sort. This only further supports the belief of some members of the Inquisition that the Blood Angels is a chapter have come perilously close to mutation, corruption, and ultimately heresy. Whatever the reality of the matter, the Sanguinor is an honoured part of the heritage of the Blood Angels chapter, as integral to their identity as servants of the Emperor of Mankind as the rest of their traditions and rituals, an honoured figure of hope in a time of darkness and woe. Okay, so that's about all we have for the Sanguinor when it comes to where he comes from and who he may be, which is quite cool. Now onto the side of the miniature where we get painting. So as you see, the model started gold. So what I did is I sprayed it Chaos Black and then I sprayed it Retributor Armor Gold on top of that. This just speeds up the base coating process of this miniature. Then I grabbed the Reikland Flesh Shade as you've seen and I covered this all over the armor of the miniature. After that we got some Liberator Gold and we dry brushed over the top of that. And with those very, very simple steps, spray gold, wash with Retributor Armor, wash with Reikland Flesh Shade, and then dry brush with Liberator, and then your gold is finished. You're like, the majority of this model is already painted. Obviously you're going to have to spend a lot of time on those wreaths and his wings and stuff, but I like how the gold looks and it's very, very simple to do. From here, it's time to work up the ribbons and of course the wings. I'm going to go for a slightly different tone with the wings. I'm not mad on the, bright, glorious dove white wings. I'm going to go just a little bit darker, and you'll see the tones that I start with now. To start with the first cover of gold, and just to basically block in the colors, we're going to go for Morghast Bone. Morghast Bone is of course like a rich color. It will cover over the gold really well and give us a nice strong base coat to build up from there. I'm also going to use this for the symbols on his shoulder pads, his belt buckle that he has basically, and then of course the ribbons, parchment that keep him aloft are also going to get a coat of this Morghast Bone. This is a very quick step. Now, one of the things I've changed a little bit from the box art as well, just because I kind of like the look of it, is that I've kept the top membrane of the wing as gold. I like that idea that these wings are not, there's part of his armor. So having that gold kept on the top, I think it accents them a little bit better as opposed to these bright white wings. Okay, we jump up to Wraithbone now and we very carefully layer up each and every individual feather on this model. This will take a little bit of time because it's going to take probably 2 coats on each wing to get a nice smooth transition and give us the color that we're looking for. And when you get those 2 smooth coats on those wings, that's it. That's where I'm stopping. I'm really happy with the result. I really like the tone. I don't think it's too gaudy. I think the white on the box is just it just screams at you. Compared to the gold, it's not what I like. I think this tone sits with the gold a little bit better. You guys can let me know in the comments whether you agree with that, whether you think I should have gone brighter and gone into that pure white look. I'm certainly happy with the result as it stands. This is of course the most tedious part of painting this miniature. It's not even that tedious, it takes a little bit of time, but it's not too bad, and there is no other tedious part of painting it. The rest of the model takes each stage takes like a minute, so He doesn't take a long time to get painted, to be honest. So you can have a nice Sanguinor on your tabletop, flying around, beating the ever-loving snot out of your opponent in a very quick amount of time. As you can see, fine pointed brush, and it is just all about patience. Okay, and this is the result of what the wings will look like. Obviously, we did the same stage on his belt buckle and on his wing shoulder pad. They're supposed to be the same kind of white color that his wings are, so we're going to keep those the same tone across the model. We then brought in Screaming Skull, and we're going to use this to highlight the other areas that are supposed to be bright across this miniature. So of course his parchment that keeps him aloft, we're going to go with once again a fine point, a sharp point, because what we want to do is we want to feather this. I'm going in the one direction just to give it that kind of parchmenty old look. Now obviously the box art has much script and scrawl and extra bits. I cannot do that. If I tried to do it, I would just make the model look worse. And I don't think the average painter is really up for the job either. So I'm here to tell you that it is of course okay not to do those kind of crazy parchmenty bits. You can simply just paint it as old parchment and leave it at that. There's no problems whatsoever. When I get through all the parchmenty bit here, you can have a look for yourself and decide whether or not it looks good or whether or not it needs all the scrawl work done to it. I don't think it really does. I like how it looks. Black Templar was then brought in. Now this is where I started to break apart the gold. Obviously there's gaps in all of the armor. That's where the soft seal, I always call them soft seal parts of the armor. And they're basically between every major armor joint. So you want to get some Black Templar and just paint those in. As you can see, I keep wiping my finger because it's tight spaces. So if a little bit of black goes on the gold, just wipe it and it goes away. And it keeps the black where you need it to be. Very quick step, but it does help a lot. With all Space Marines, make sure you are blocking in those soft seals with your different color to break up all that armor color. Subtle, but as you can see, it does make quite a huge difference. Now it's time to work up that beautiful sword. So Sigvald Burgundy is what I'm going to use for the handle. And then there's also a little purity seal on his right thigh, which I'm going to use this for the wax seal color of that as well. Now, on the box art, once again, the sword is the majority of it is silver. You can do that if you want to. I'm going to keep the crossguard and the pommel gold because I think it looks beautiful. The sword is clearly a work of art. Art is something that the Blood Angels chapter is famed for. So I'm going to, of course, like I said, Sigvald Burgundy for the handle, leave the pommel and the crossguard gold, silver up the blade, and then give it a wash of Nuln Oil and then layer it up from there. I think it's going to look really nice. It's going to make the sword stand out. While I'm doing this, I'm of course doing all the other details that kind of match this thing. So he has a giant iron halo across his head. So when you're painting the blade with Leadbelcher, make sure you're doing that as well. He's got a chalice in his right hand. Paint that in with Leadbelcher now as well. Leave the rim of it gold if you so wish. I've decided to add that in just to make it look a little bit less than just flat silver. Now it's time for that Nuln Oil, and we're going to shade those components that we did. So the chalice, the sword, and the iron halo across his back. We're going to block in with just a small bit of Nuln Oil. I wanted to keep these bits different from the armor, just so they're a slightly different tone, so they stand out a little bit better across the model. He is a very cool model. I can't wait to get the Sanguinary Guard painted up. I only currently own 3 Sanguinary Guard, though I think I'm going to have to get a minimum of another box to have 6 to fight alongside him and Dante. Although I think Dante can join a unit. I don't think the Sanguinor can actually join Sanguinary Guard. That would be a bit nuts. So he'll fly around by himself. Dante and 6 Sanguinary Guard will fly around by themselves, and it will just be a wrecking ball of gold. Custodes will look on in awe at what those models are going to do. Okay, some pink horror was used to highlight the pommel of the sword, and of course that little wax seal on his right thigh. Ironbreaker was then introduced. This is a brighter silver than we used to paint the blade, and we're going to use these to highlight the chalice, highlight the gold and crossguard and stuff on the sword, and highlight the power blade itself. You can also use it to touch up the iron halo on his back and make that just sparkle a little bit more. What I'm also doing with the Ironbreaker color is I'm going around and finding all of the teardrop shaped gems that are littered across his armor and giving them a nice coat of bright silver. That means that we can go back in with a contrast color later on and kind of make them look like gemstones. Of course, they're Blood Angels, so they're all about their blood gems, they're rubies. So a Blood Angel's red contrast painted over the top of those blood drops is all I'm going to do. You can go ahead and work up more if you want to do some extra details, but I think this stands out enough. On the box art as well, he does have like glowing blue eyes a little bit, but they're so tiny. I like the kind of hooded look of the mask. It's really dark in his eye sockets. I'm going to leave them be. You can, of course, if you so wish, put a little dot of Talazar blue contrast into his eyes to make them pop if you so wish. I do talk about a little bit at the end where I didn't touch his shoulder pads themselves. They're supposed to be red to represent Blood Angels. I'm not 100% sure whether I want to leave him as just a pure Blood Angels thing, or say that when he shows up to help the Flesh Tearers, suddenly his shoulder pads are Flesh Tearers. I don't know. I just haven't decided that yet. Obviously, he's going to be in my Flesh Tearers army. Should he have Blood Angel shoulder pad? He probably should. I'm going to leave it a couple of days before I decide on that, and then, yeah. If you know how to paint Blood Angels, paint his shoulder pads like that if you so wish. Still images of the finished result and what he may look like on the tabletop. I'm quite pleased with the final result. He is a beastly model. Like I said, if he got deployed across me on a tabletop game, I would like gulp. He is a menace on the tabletop. He is going to be awesome flying around and beating up chaos. And I'm really happy to have him in my collection. That's pretty much every named character for Blood Angels that we have now finished off and done a video for on the channel. So you're in good hands. Okay guys, and there we have it, the Sanguinor painted up and ready to hit the tabletop. I'm very happy with how he turned out. The only thing I haven't really done on him yet is the colours on his shoulder pad, because I'm not quite sure whether I want to do them in the traditional Blood Angels red or whether I want to do something Flesh Tearers with them. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but perhaps he is a Blood Angel that comes to, you know, the need of any Blood Angels chapter. Maybe when he shows up he is kind of, I don't know, I don't know, we'll see. I'm just kind of stuck on that one point. They'll probably go traditional Blood Angels red, but you guys know how to paint that up. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do those 3 normal things you should do with all content creators out there. If you enjoyed their stuff, make sure you give the video a like. If you have anything to ask or anything to say, put it in the comments, and make sure that you're subscribed. Subscriptions really do make a huge difference, so I hope you guys do that. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.